everyone, let's have a quick chat about Unseen Academicals, the 37th book in the Discworld series. Before I talk about the book, I need to talk about my first read of this book. When this came out, it was the first after I heard of Terry Pratchett's sickness. So I thought it might be the last book that we get. And going into that, it felt like it. I had the idea or the perception that this was a little bit like putting in one last time, getting in all the characters that you like. And it did feel a little bit off for me. So I was honestly putting off rereading it, also because it's about football. But I'm glad I reread it because it changed my opinion about the book somewhat. So what is it about? It's part of the Wizards series, and the Wizards discover that they need to partake in this kind of violent game, football, because some kind of money is attached to it and they need to participate. And that changes the whole idea of how football is treated in the city. Basically, the patrician veterinary is already not quite happy with how the game is played at the moment. It's more of a nobody sees anything, there are no rules, people die in it, it's violent, it's in the streets, and there is something that they call the shove, which is basically the fans moving and shoving through the city streets, because that's where it's played. It's not played in a field, it's played on the city street. So the main premise of this book is changing the game of football into something that has rules, is less dangerous, and more organized. And since the Wizards have to participate now, Veterinary uses that to his advantage. But that's not all that happens. We also have a person, Mr. Nutt, who is working as a candle dripper in the Unseen University, and something is definitely off with him because he doesn't feel off. He's introduced as a goblin, and I do remember that we did have goblins before, so I didn't feel like it's a new character, but he's treated like a new species that is introduced to the book. And the way people talk about him, it is rather wearisome. And that is quite interesting. We also have his boss, Trevor Likely, who coincidentally is also the son of a famous footballer, Dave Likely, who's the only one who scored 5 goals apparently in one game and died on the field, as people did in the game. Then we also have 2 women in the night kitchen, Glenda and Juliet. Glenda is a person who's really responsible. She takes charge of things and takes responsibility for others and has opinions. Juliet is her best friend, a little bit dim-witted and very interested in fashion. The book, aside from following the Wizards, mostly follows the story around those 4. And that's where the more interesting parts for me took place, because we see a lot how the opinions of the surrounding area where you grow up, your family, the society, how it holds you back and how it creeps into you and makes it your own opinions. We see, especially with Glenda, how she has to face her own limited viewpoints, her own narrow-mindedness often, and overcome it. So this book deals a lot with change, accepting change, dealing with change, and how it struggles to fight against the set rules. It's always been like that, and we've never had that, and all these ideas. And that's the part where I thought the book wasn't as great as the others. Everything in this book is good. The narration is good. The characters are great. The puns and wordplay is amazing, as usual, as we are used to by Pratchett. But somehow it felt still a little bit more put on than natural. Also, the thing that really put me off the first time did put me off this time again is Rincewind, which is strange because I do love Rincewind. He's one of my favorite characters in the whole series, and I love to read about him. But here he feels like a token that could be left out. He's more of the, what I said in the beginning, the going back to things we did before, throwing in reminders and favorite characters. He's good in the book, but he could be left out. And he's just a side character, more like a sidekick instead of the main character as he usually was. So maybe that's why it disturbed me. Overall, I'm really glad I reread the book and gave it another chance. I still didn't really get into the football stuff. I still have things that I didn't like about it. but I loved seeing behind the curtains of veterinary more. I loved seeing more of the machinations of changing the city, of dragging the city into modern times and being more open-minded and forming it to his visions. I loved that. And now it's your turn. Let me know how you felt when you read the book the first or the second time, if you changed your opinion about it by rereading it, if you've put off the book for some reason, maybe the football. You can read it because of the football. It's not that bad, even if you don't like football like me. Let me know in comments what you think, and thank you for watching. Bye bye.